George R. Martin's legendary, morally complicated, unfinished series of novels was adapted to television by HBO with wild, unprecedented success, but a controversial ending, since the source material was unfinished and the TV writers had to come to their own conclusions. In The Sopranos, Tony Soprano becomes the boss of the DeMio family, the New Jersey branch of La Cosa Nostra, or the Mafia, this thing of ours. This happens after the current boss, Jackie Aprile, dies of cancer. Despite the promotion, Tony's genuinely upset to watch his good friend slowly wither away and die. It's an excellent demonstration of two of Martin's themes throughout the series, that even a monster like Tony can still feel, and that the swagger and prestige of the mob lifestyle doesn't actually protect these people from the inconveniences or indignities of living. At first, Tony has to rule behind his uncle, Junior Soprano, but at the end of the first book and the first season, Junior is arrested and Tony assumes de facto control. Despite his affection for Jackie, which is also seen in flashbacks to Jackie's reign in book and season 2, both Tony and Junior before him waste no time dismantling the Aprile regime in favor of their own Pax Soprana. Tony's wife, Carmela, remains friends with Jackie's wife, Rosalie Aprile, until the show's end, but the rest of the Aprile family doesn't make it into the later seasons. This gives Rosalie's appearances a haunting, tragic quality in the show, but fans of the books are theorizing that Martin has something different in mind for his version of the story. In Season 2 of the show, and Book 2 of the series, we meet two more Aprile family members, Jackie's brother Richie Aprile, who was just released from prison, and Jackie's son, Jackie Jr. Fans of George R. R. Martin's other popular series of novels, A Song of Ice and Fire, might recognize George's habit of reusing names. Jackie Jr. and Richie both feel entitled to the money and prestige of mob life, which makes sense. Until recently, they were both members of the royal family. However, because of Tony's greed, he doesn't share power and wealth outside of his family, or those otherwise close and loyal to him. This leads to Jackie Jr. and Richie making risky moves for money and power, like robbing college concerts or selling cocaine on Union garbage routes, which only annoys Tony almost as much as the fact that both Aprile men start trying to enter his family directly, dating his daughter and sister respectively. Tony is surrounded by Apriles, although this isn't too surprising given the insular nature of mafia life. At the end of Season 2 of the show, we see Tony's sister Janice kill Richie in a shocking twist. However, in the books, we only hear about this event from Tony's perspective, because there's only the scene of him arriving while Janice cries over Richie's dead body. Then, in Book 3, it's revealed that Janice and Richie faked his death, and Janice actually shot Porky Pie, a character who only appears in the books. If you're only familiar with the show, this might sound confusing, but in the books, Richie and Janice have a very different relationship compared to that of the show. In the show, Richie's cruelty comes off as aimless, sadistic. All mobsters hurt people, but Richie is a dead-eyed thug with no concept of consequence or remorse. However, in the books, Richie actually became a Hindu shaman in prison. That's why he and Janice, or Parvati, bond over yoga so quickly. Book Richie does have a plan beyond getting rich and putting his family back on top of the New Jersey mafia power structure. Richie and his followers are trying to create a nexus of pain that will summon Shiva, the Hindu god of destruction, to New Jersey. It's clear that Martin is foreshadowing the destruction of New Jersey in some form. TV showrunner David Chase chose to interpret this as a more metaphorical destruction, the gentrification of old neighborhoods and community values. However, Martin might have something more literal in mind. See, In the books, there's a prophecy that a mobster will unite the 5 families against a great darkness. Some fans dismiss this as a minor piece of world building, since the DeMeo family isn't one of the 5 New York families, so it doesn't really seem to concern them. However, other fans theorize that a New York family will be destroyed over the course of the books, like how the Lupertazzi family is in the show, which will lead to the DeMeo family stepping up to become the new 5th family. Fans theorize that Richie may be trying to fulfill this prophecy and ascend to the mantle of Agaba Ghul. But where's Jackie Jr. in all this? Well, now it's time to really get into what fans refer to as the Grand Aprile Conspiracy. See, even if Richie comes back, it's not guaranteed he'll take over the family. He's not well liked, as his previous attempts to take over in season and book 2 showed. No, if someone is intent on putting an Aprile back on the throne, it'll have to be Jackie's male heir, Jackie Jr. He's handsome, he's well liked, okay, he doesn't have much going for him either. But that would tie into one of Martin's central ideas, the Mafia's lack of future heading into the 21st century. Unlike in earlier generations, where Italian Americans had few opportunities for lawful social advancement, the generation of Italian Americans coming up behind Tony's crew mostly have better prospects than the demystified, dying empire of La Cosa Nostra. The up-and-comers in the Sopranos regime are men too impulsive or stupid to make it in legitimate careers, like criminal mastermind Benny Fazio, so Jackie Jr., a man too foolish and lazy to take advantage of the opportunities his family worked to provide him, choosing to take the big seat anyway, would fit into Martin's themes. But how could he get there? Well, if he does keep dating Tony's daughter Meadow, he could end up next in line by default. Tony doesn't want his male heir, AJ, joining the mob, like Jackie didn't. So if Tony dies while Jackie Jr. is married to Meadow, he could become the patriarch of the Soprano family. Marrying into the ruling family is a legitimate means of rising up in rank in the mob, as we see with Janice's future husband in the show, Bobby Baclieri. However, this seems a little slow for the impulsive Jackie, and it wouldn't feel like meaningful revenge for the other disgruntled Aprile family members. So some fans theorize there may be a grand conspiracy to do Tony in early and let Jackie take the throne back for the Apriles. He's got Richie and Janice behind him, but who else? Well, in the books, Rosalie Aprile is a much more brutal and vindictive character, so she might not mind her son taking over as number 1 if it means she can once again wield power as a matriarch of the mob. She's also involved with Ralph Cifaretto in the books, who Tony is pushing further and further away, much like he did Richie. Ralph and Jackie Jr. don't always get along, but he'd probably be much happier with Jackie Jr. in charge than Tony. Maybe he could even run the family behind Jackie Jr.'s back, like Tony did with his Jr. in season 1. So he's probably in on it. But who else? Well, in book and season 2, we find out that Tony's chosen heir, Christopher's girlfriend, is actually also related to the Aprile family. But she's not involved directly in this thing of ours. In fact, she repeatedly attempts to convince her boyfriend Christopher to leave the life of crime with her. But Christopher has been emotionally groomed by Tony into being his number 2. So suddenly, we see another potential Aprile conspirator with a motive to take Tony out of the big chair. Now, let's take a step back. Even if the Grand Aprile Conspiracy is real, it's probably not going to work. The Sopranos, for all its deep lore and many side characters, is fundamentally Tony's story, so if he dies, it's over. It's much more likely this will be another conflict for Tony to make it through on his road to true psychopathy. The real question is what this will cost him. Tony's highest earner, his sister, his successor, and his daughter are all involved in this to some extent. He could lose one or more of them in the crossfire of another attempted coup. The other question is who the great Machiavellian planner behind this conspiracy is. It's probably not Richie, since he's busy with the whole Shiva thing, and it's definitely not Jackie Jr. Maybe it's Rosalie, and like in the show, she'll end up being the last Aprile standing. Or maybe it's somebody outside the Aprile family, outside the mob itself, trying to get at Tony and using an entire family as proxy. Someone who has had beef with Tony since the beginning of the series, but knows they can't strike back directly. Someone in the background of Tony's life. Oh my god! If you enjoyed this video, thank you. Let me know if you would like to see explanations of other Sopranos fan theories, like the Many Carmines theory, the fate of the Russian, or Leotardo Bowl.